everyone, it's Hannah here, back with some more art and craft activities you can do with children. Okay, so today we are going to try and make this, which is kind of a musical instrument. It's what they call a rainmaker. So it makes this nice kind of pitty-pattery noise. It has that kind of going on, but it's also meant to be a sort of multi-sensory toy. So we're actually going to add some things to make it have a nice smell. Obviously we're going to make it nice and brightly coloured on the outside, and we're also going to add some things to give it texture, so it's kind of a touchy, feely toy as well. Okay, so hopefully this is something your children will enjoy playing with as well as actually making. Okay, so that's what we're going to make today. Okay. Okay, so we're making our multi-sensory toy, and these are the things that you are going to need to do this. So the first thing is a tube that's going to be the main body of your toy. Okay, so this is just the inner tube from some kitchen roll. You can at a push use a toilet roll, but it's pretty tiny. It's not as sort of big, and you won't get that nice kind of sound for so long. So what you can maybe do if you only have toilet rolls is perhaps find some way to stick two together. Okay, so that's the main thing you need, is your kitchen roll tube. You need probably a couple pipe cleaners, or the other thing you can use for this element is, which I actually used in this one, is some rolled up aluminium foil that you kind of roll into a tube and then twist it round into a spiral. We'll come back to why we need that a bit later. Obviously you need some glue. Now this isn't PVA, this is what at Hobbycraft they call tacky glue. It's just a little bit stronger than PVA. If you're going to be sticky on things like beads, you need a pretty strong glue. PVA might not quite cut it. So obviously it's all about what you've got at home. If you've got something a little stronger than PVA, that would be great. But at a push, PVA will work, hopefully. Okay, so you need your glue, you need some paper to go on the outside. This is like a kind of wrapping paper. This will work quite well. You basically want something that's strong, especially for the ends. So something that's not going to tear, but also is kind of flexible enough that you can fit it around the end nicely. So tissue paper is good. I'll show you how you can kind of double that up and make a strong, like double layer of tissue paper if you don't have anything else. But this kind of like quite thin but quite strong stuff like wrapping paper is also a good option. So you need your paper, glue, yeah, obviously a brush and like a palette to put your glue on. And then you need, so you're going to need the thing that's going to make your nice rain sound that's going to go inside. So I've used these split peas, yellow split peas. I think they work really well. That's what I normally use when I've done this craft before. But you can also use any other dry goods you've got at home. Beans, lentils, maybe rice, anything really like that. I just find the split peas work really well if you have them. And then I'm also, as I mentioned, going to add like a smelly element. Now you might not have anything to do this at home. It's not essential by any means. But it does add an extra nice dimension. So I happen to have this really nice smelling dried lavender for making little lavender bags. You might have some potpourri type stuff at home. Or you could maybe even try drying some flowers from your garden if you wanted to really get involved. So that's my smelly element. It smells really good. It's making my whole studio smell nice actually. Okay, and then you need your texture elements. Now this is again really just all about what you have at home. It can be a range of things. Okay, I've got here like some pom-poms, some ribbon. This ribbon that I used on this one is amazing. It's got a really good texture, but you know, whatever you've got. You can add some of this, what they call like washi tape. That's quite a nice kind of smooth texture, and also it's nice and decorative as well. Yeah, ribbon, some of these sticky on gem things are good. You can get these like foam pre-cut shapes, which I've used on mine, or you might have maybe some sort of sheet foam that you could cut up yourself. Buttons, another option. A lot of people will have this at home, nice kind of corrugated cupcake thingies, that's quite a good option. And then failing that, if you don't have any of that kind of stuff, your craft supply box is not that deep, you can just cut up some cardboard perhaps into shapes. I've just coloured these in with oil pastel. You could use crayon or paint. So you can add texture in that very simple way if you're struggling for other ideas. Just extra kind of thick pieces of card that you're going to stick on. And that can be your textural element. Any of, you know, go crazy. Like, that could be part of the activity that the children could go around the house and find stuff to use. Yeah, all kinds of options. Okay, so let's start making our rainmaker then. So the first thing you're going to need to do is put something down inside. You want something that's going to sort of get in the way of your noisemaker, so that they kind of trickle down instead of like just all go from one end to the other like immediately. So I've got here this pipe cleaner that I've kind of made into a spiral. I'm not sure actually if pipe cleaner is the best option. If you've got that aluminium foil that I mentioned, that's okay. So yeah, when I made this one, I used aluminium foil inside, and that worked really well. So if you are going to do the aluminium foil option, just roll it into a tube and make it into a spiral like with the pipe cleaner. Okay, so whatever you use, pipe cleaner or foil, just stick them down inside. I've used 2 pipe cleaners just to really make sure that we got the whole length is got something in there that's going to delay the split piece. Okay, and now we need our glue, because we're going to stick on one of the ends. So what you want to do is just glue around the end and then put on the paper that you've selected. Like I said, if you've got something that's quite good and strong, that's the ideal thing. You want a sort of square shape, if you can see what that shape was before I scrunched it up. So yeah, something like that. Okay, so yeah, just smooth it on over the end and then make sure it's pressed down. Don't worry if this bit's a bit messy, because we're going to cover that up with some other paper when we get round to decorating. So yeah, you might find that the glue hasn't totally glued that down. That's fine. Don't worry about that at this stage. Just get that end covered up. Okay, I think this is where your tacky glue really comes into its own if you've got it, because that should stick down pretty easily. PVA might need to just be careful till it dries a bit more. Okay, hang on. One of my pipe cleaners is wriggle free, so I'm going to stick it in this end. Okay, so now is the time to add your sort of sound element. You can be fairly generous with this. I don't know what kind of amounts we're talking really. Oh, of course, this is going to get messy, inevitably, if kids are doing it. So be ready with the dustpan and brush. So what have I got in there? I don't know. Yeah, that's working pretty well. Maybe a few more. I don't know, what's that, about 20 grams? I don't know, I'm guessing. Okay, so whatever you think is a good amount. Okay, and then my smelly element, I'm going to put in some of this lavender as well. Don't know how long the smell will last for, probably a little while. Yummy. Okay, there we go. My pipe cleaner is actually sort of sliding down a bit. That's maybe again why the aluminium foil is better. Okay, so I've got my my noise and my smell element in there now. So now I'm going to seal up the other end before I worry about decorating the tube. Okay, so I did mention that you can do it with tissue paper if you haven't got anything else. So let's do that now. Okay, so what I've got here is like a big roll of tissue paper. What you'll probably have is more like a sheet. So what you'll have to do maybe is kind of fold in half. Because what I'm going to basically do is use a double layer of tissue paper just to try and make it a bit more, bit stronger, so that it's going to not tear with sort of enthusiastic shaking, which is what it might very well end up getting. Okay, so same procedure, just add glue. Oh, a bit more glue needed. Come on, glue. Okay. Okay. There, that already feels pretty good and strong. Okay, what I actually use for this, I don't have any of this currently. It's a sort of waxy paper. I don't know what you would call that. It's kind of like tissue paper, but it's got like a crinkly effect. And that's held up really well. I don't know where I bought that, but maybe that's something you have in your craft box at home, I don't know. But that's almost like the ideal thing. Okay, so right, moment of truth. I've got my two ends on now, so let's give the sound a little trial run. Oh, that's kind of, oh, there you go. Yeah, that's giving me my nice pitter-patter rainy impression. Okay, so that's good. Okay, so I've got my functioning rainmaker done. Okay, so I'm just going to show you how to neaten up these bits and start to decorate along the sides. So, oh, here's a bit of my lovely colour from my last project. Just, it's not going to go all the way around. Maybe I'll do it this way. So what you want to do now is cut like kind of strips, squares for the ends, but then you want kind of strips with straight edges that are going to go round like this. And obviously if they overlap, that's really not a bad thing. It makes it a little neater. My edge there's a bit untidy. Let's just snip that off. Okay, so I'm going to actually put my glue on here this time. Yeah, I'm just doing it straight on my table, but obviously, especially with young children, you'd want to have some sort of mat down. If it's a table that you want to keep looking nice. My art room table has already got too much junk on it to worry about. Okay, so I've done that. And now so here I'm going to neaten up those untidy edges that I left before. Obviously, you do have to just help the children with this maybe, because tissue paper can tear when you're doing jobs like this. And they might be just a little bit rough with it, so encourage them to do it gently. Well, look, it's not quite even, but you know what? I'm not too worried about that. Okay, so there we go. You can start to see how I'm building it up. If you do have a bit that's a bit uneven, and maybe you've got some of this washi tape stuff or some ribbon or something, the sort of transition bits, you could actually, it looks quite nice to kind of mark one colour going into another with like a bit of sticky stuff like that. But obviously and decorate it however you want. So there we go, that's that bit. And then you can see on this one that I kind of did like sets of things and just spaced them quite evenly all the way around. But you don't have to do it like that. You can do it completely randomly, just stick bits all over wherever. The other thing that might be quite fun, I remember when I did this before with some children, I did have some children that kind of wanted to make it into a figure, and they made like little hats for them and maybe things that were like clothes. So, and if you have some like googly eyes, these things, you can really easily make it look like a quite cute little figure just by adding some eyes at some point. Yeah, so that's the idea. Just keep going with it, keep building up on top. Anything you like, whatever your glue will allow you to stick on, really. And yeah, there's your Rainmaker multi-sensory toy. Okay, just popping back to say I've just quickly finished my Rainmaker here, and this is the finished one. And a note to add, having just done this myself for the first time for a while, is these pieces of cardboard, the ones I cut up, were perhaps a little bit too big. So, I mean, it's okay. They're kind of sticking out, not kind of stuck down, because of course it's a curved surface. So a little additional note might be that if you want pieces that are just going to kind of stick fairly neatly to the surface, see like these bits of foam I have here, possibly nothing bigger than this, so that they kind of stick to the flat part rather than the curved part. Because I mean, this is actually okay. This glue is pretty strong. That should be fine. But I can just imagine children, the first thing they'll do is knock those off. So yeah, a little additional note: if you're going to do these cardboard pieces, maybe cut them up a little smaller than I have here, so that you can kind of stick lots of them all the way around. Okay, so well, that's a rough idea of the kind of thing that you might have when you've finished your Rainmaker. I could, you know, I've only really decorated one side. I could spend longer and do more. Oh, ribbon. But that's still not dry glue. That's the other thing. Wait till your glue dries, everyone at home, before you play with it. Okay, so, but there you go. You get the general idea. One decorated Rainmaker. Okay, enjoy everyone. Bye.